Camille Logan, daughter of a wealthy business tycoon, wants nothing but independence, but because one of her father's dealings went wrong, finds herself more constrained than ever. To protect his daughter from the threats she is receiving, her father hires a man to be her bodyguard, unaware of the lengths to which he will go to protect her or the secrets he is hiding. The scene opens with our protagonist Jake Sharp fighting on a battlefield. There is war and he appears to be distraught as he sees people laying down motionless all around him. Jake wakes up from his recurrent dreams of war and in a haze almost shoots the woman lying beside him. Jake cold-heartedly tells the woman to leave as soon as possible. He has seen war up close and as a consequence, he shut down all his ability to love. Jake starts his day the same as he does every morning, going for a jog, taking his pills to keep images of the war away, and then checking his emails. As he scrolls on his laptop, he sees the job offer to be a young woman's bodyguard. She is Camille Logan, who is the daughter of a business tycoon. Jake reads about her on Wikipedia, where he learns that she is also a top model who has represented numerous fashion designers. At first, he thinks about declining the offer, but after contemplating for a while, Jake agrees. In a phone call, Jake tells his decision to an unnamed woman who appears to be relieved that he took the job. In the next scene, we meet Camille Logan, who is undoubtedly a gentle and kind woman. She is meeting one of her friends named Heather in a restaurant where a waitress recognizes her. The woman comments how Camille is even prettier in real life and offers to pay for their drinks. Camille at this point in life is used to people praising her beauty and even paying for her stuff. Jake goes to attend the meeting with the great business tycoon Mr. Logan, whose daughter he has to protect. He is thoroughly searched before entering, but still using his sharp brain, Jake manages to sneak in a gun. Inside the meeting room, the atmosphere is tense. Mr. Logan applauds Jake's skills and track record and hopes that he will be able to protect his daughter, who is very dear to him. Jake isn't satisfied with all the information he is getting and urges Mr. Logan to tell him the whole truth about why he needs to protect her. After seeing that Jake is onto him, Mr. Logan opens up and finally tells him that just last night he was sent a note threatening his daughter's life. He trusts Jake that he will be able to protect his daughter from any danger that may come her way. Finally, after giving Jake all the information, Mr. Logan asks Jake to wait outside as his daughter is going to be here anytime soon. Camille arrives at her father's office and Mr. Logan greets his daughter affectionately. He finally tells Camille about the note he received and the precautionary measures he is taking because of that. The door opens and Jake enters the office. Jake introduces himself, but Camille hears nothing as she is fixated on his appearance. Finally, Camille comes out of the trance she is in when she hears her father say that he will be her bodyguard from this day onwards. Camille stands up in an instant, ready to protest, but his father's decision is irreversible. Camille tries to persuade her father by telling him that she has a busy schedule, and she is sure that Jake wouldn't want to follow her around. But Jake has all the counterpoints ready by the time she finishes. He informs Logan that he has no problem surveilling her 24/7 as he is getting paid for the job. Camille gives up on trying to change her father's mind when it becomes abundantly clear that he is adamant about his decision. Camille leaves disappointed in her father and Jake quickly follows her. Camille walks as fast as she can in hopes of leaving him behind, but Jake catches up to her without much effort. Camille doesn't want him trailing behind her, but Jake informs her that from this day onward he is going to be closer to her than anyone has ever been. She falsely thinks that there is no threat and that her father only hired him because her ex is back in town. But Jake makes it clear that she really is in danger and he is the only one who can protect her. The tension between the two is obvious as they fight over simple little things. Camille orders Jake to stay quiet and he obeys unwillingly. Camille finds this arrangement ridiculous as he continues to walk behind her and only stops when she does. Camille gets in her car, but not before Jake makes sure that the door is locked. It's unbearable for Camille. On her way to meet her friend, Camille manages to lose Jake, but when she gets out of the car, he appears out of nowhere. The silly little games that Camille is playing with him infuriate Jake, but he controls his anger. Camille's friend thinks that Jake is hot, and Camille agrees, but still hates him for making her already unbearable life more difficult for her. They keep bickering back and forth until Jake manages to follow Camille back to her home. Unfortunately for him, before he can enter, she shuts the door in his face. Jake, tired of arguing with Camille all day, slumps to the floor. Right at that moment, he gets a text from Logan, instructing him that Camille's ex is back in town, and now he also has to protect her from him. After this, the next thing Jake does is call the same woman from earlier and tell her about it. They appear to be working together as he tells her that he thinks Logan is hiding something. The call ends, but suddenly, Jake starts getting horrific flashbacks from the war. Suddenly, Camille opens the door, and Jake falls back, which makes Camille laugh. Camille welcomes him inside and shows him where he will be sleeping, a couch that you cannot even see because there is so much mess around it. Camille leaves smirking while Jake cleans everything himself. She knows she has won this round. Jake controls his anger by punching a pillow because he cannot say anything to Camille, and Camille is already taking advantage of this fact. The next day starts horrendously for Camille. She goes to check up on Jake, who appears to be asleep, but when she gets closer to him, he suddenly wakes up and they both fall to the ground. Camille has never been this embarrassed before. Similarly, in the parking lot, Jake instructs Camille to get into his car instead of her own. Camille has no other option as Jack has barricaded Camille's car from leaving, so she reluctantly agrees. Camille attends a meeting with her agent, who is an old woman, yet she doesn't hold back from checking out Jake. Camille notices that and brings her attention back to why they are here in the first place. Her agent informs her that although they want to work with Camille as she would attract the audience, they aren't willing to involve Heather in the project. This puts off Camille and she rejects the offer. Camille consoles Heather that they are best friends and she would never ditch her for any deal that is thrown at her. As Camille and Heather are talking, Jake notices a suspicious-looking white van and asks his associate to look into it. It may not be anything, but he still wants to be sure. They are about to cross the road when Camille sees her brother TJ and introduces him to Jake. TJ is polite and pleasant and greets Jake nicely even if Camille shows open hatred for him. TJ asks her sister to be careful as he too has seen the threat. With a kiss on the cheek, TJ bids her farewell and leaves, and Camille is once again left alone with Jake. Later, Camille goes to a shop and tries on various dresses while Jake waits for her. As they are leaving the shop, the shopkeeper sprays perfume on Jake's face, and the images from the war come back to haunt him. He starts to have an anxiety attack and hardly makes it out alive. Camille doesn't understand what's happening, but seeing him in pain worries her. She gives him his anxiety pills and that seems to calm him down. She asks him what happened to him and the only answer he gives is war. They return, and when they do, they find out that someone left notes threatening Camille again. Jake sends the note and the pictures to his associate, asking her to look for fingerprints, or anything that can help them find more about the one who has been sending these notes. Jake suspects that Camille is being threatened for something that her father is hiding from him. Even Camille struggles to sleep as she keeps tossing and turning in her bed. The next day, Camille wakes up to find Jake packing as he plans to leave. Camille is confused, so Jake informs her that he is done with the job and someone else is going to take his place. Camille is disappointed to learn that yet doesn't show it. Jake opens the door to leave and there stands Sebastian, Camille's unwanted ex. He creepily looks her up and down and asks her to go to coffee with him. Camille downright rejects him, and before he can make another move, Jake shuts the door in his face after informing him that from this day onwards he isn't allowed to reach out to her. Jake walks back inside and starts to unpack his things. Camille asks him if he is going to leave her and Jake announces that he is here to stay. After seeing Sebastian at Camille's door, Jake felt the sting of jealousy and refused to go. Camille didn't want him to leave either in the first place, so she smiles knowingly. Later, Camille meets up with Heather and there Jake mistakes a paparazzi for the assailant. He chases him down and breaks his camera despite Camille telling him multiple times that he isn't a threat. Finally, he lets go of the man and the guy leaves, angry at them for breaking his stuff. Heather knows that Jake is more protective over Camille than a normal bodyguard would be, but Jake is confident that he is only doing his job. Back at home, Camille enters Jake's room and finds a picture of him and an unknown woman in his bag. The two seem close and happy. Right at that moment, Jake returns and is surprised when he finds her going through his stuff. She apologizes for prying but still asks him who is the girl in the picture. Jake reveals that she is no more than an ex and has no importance in his life anymore. Camille tries to leave but Jake stops her midway. They almost get too close but a cell phone ring ends their moment abruptly and she leaves to attend to it. Camille goes to attend the dinner, while Jake stays close as he sits at a table nearby but keeps his eyes on her. Jake calls Logan to inform him that there was no courier to Logan Towers the day the threat arrived. Jake is now growing more suspicious of Logan. He thinks that he might be hiding something from him. Camille tells Jake that she and Heather are going to meet up at the club, and they do. It's more than a meetup, as both of them dance to the music blaring in the club. Jake's eyes never leave Camille as he makes sure that no harm comes her way. Camille approaches Jake, informing him that she needs to go to the washroom, and he follows her behind. Camille goes in alone while Jake waits for her outside patiently, as all the ladies leaving the washroom side-eye him. Suddenly, girls run outside, screaming in terror. Turns out that Sebastian managed to sneak inside the washroom and started hitting Camille, screaming that she belongs to him. Jake sees the commotion and doesn't waste a second in grabbing him. After beating him for a while, Jake points a gun to his head and lets him know that if he goes to prison after this, he wouldn't regret it. It seems nothing is going to make Jake change his mind, but Camille's voice brings him back to reality. She calls out to him and he goes to her in an instant. Jake picks Camille up in his arms and leaves the club as everyone there watches them. Back at home, Camille asks about the battle wound she noticed on him. She asks if that's the reason he isn't in the army anymore, and Jake only vaguely answers, confirming her suspicion, but does not tell her the whole story behind it. Camille remembers her encounter with her ex and feels the need to defend herself for loving someone as pathetic as Sebastian who abused her, but Jake doesn't see her like that. He thinks that she is a strong woman who knows what she wants in life. In the heat of the moment, they kiss, and Jake momentarily stops, worried that it will interfere with his job. Yet, looking at her beautiful face, he cannot resist her. They share a sweet intimate moment. Jake wakes up earlier the next day but doesn't leave her side. Instead, he sits in a chair nearby and waits for her to get up. They spend their time together until the next shoot Camille has to go to. They reach there, and this time, both of them seem extremely close. They even hold hands as they walk in. Inside, Camille tells Jake that she'll be wearing no clothes in this shoot. Jake tries to persuade her to end this project and instead focus on her designs, but Camille cannot. This shoot is a huge deal for her, and she cannot abandon it now that she is so close to achieving something she always dreamt about. A man wearing almost nothing comes and hugs Camille a little too closely for Jake's liking. Camille informs Jake that he is her colleague and is going to be the model beside her. Now Jake has lost his cool knowing that she will be with this guy for the shoot. He helplessly tries to tell her that this is torture for him, and that the pain of seeing Camille with someone else might be unbearable for him. But Camille decides to do the shoot and asks Jake to wait for her. The shoot begins and Jake sits uncomfortably on the couch. With each click of the camera, Jake's patience runs out even more. Finally, he can't take it anymore and makes up an excuse to leave, but not before he almost trips and falls on his way out. Once he is out, he receives a call from the same associate named Lucinda. Lucinda tells him that the threatening note and the picture he sent to her led her to nothing. The only thing she got is that Mr. Logan is probably hiding something from them. She thinks it would be wise for Jake to be somewhere nice right now and tells him about the new job offering, but he declines it. Right now, the only thing that matters to him is Camille. After the shoot, Jake and Camille go to eat something. Jake is still a mystery to Camille. To get to know him better, she asks him about the battle wound, but Jake strongly reacts and refuses to tell. Seeing that he wouldn't open up about this certain topic, she asks if he has any family. Jake reveals that he has no one, not since his parents passed away when he was just a child. Camille further prompts him to tell her about the woman in the photograph she saw earlier, but again, Jake only vaguely answers without giving much information. Suddenly, Sebastian appears out of nowhere, with muscular men tagging alongside him. As soon as Jake notices them, he gets into action and walks toward them with no hesitation. The fight breaks while Camille watches in horror. Without much effort, Jake manages to overpower them all. Seeing his friends getting beaten so horribly, Sebastian makes a run for his life. Jake lets him go, only because when he turns around to check up on Camille, she is no longer there. He hurries back to the apartment and asks Lucinda to call the police. On his car's windshield, he finds more threatening pictures saying that their time is up. He runs to the apartment in panic, but relief fills his body when he sees Camille sitting in front of the door. Jake tells Lucinda that there is no need for police and ends the call as he tends to Camille. Camille reveals that Jake fighting with those guys frightened her and she ran away. Camille is scared of the things Jake is hiding from her. She again asks him about the part of his life where he served with the army, and yet again, he refuses to tell her. Camille has had enough and walks away from him in anger. They leave for a party TJ and Camille's family have arranged. It's in the beautiful countryside, but all the fun is already spoiled due to the fight Jake and Camille had earlier. Camille meets up with TJ, who asks her to go and greet their stepmother. She is on her way when Jake grabs her arm and takes her to the side. He finally reveals that when he was in the army, his personal life overclouded his judgment, due to which he lost two of his best friends in the war. He himself got shot, and the one thing he loved the most, the right to serve for his country, was also taken from him. This is why he doesn't open up to people anymore. Jake wants to protect Camille without any distractions so that he doesn't lose her like his friends. Without saying anything, Camille walks off and Jake follows her. As Camille meets her father and her stepmother, Jake secretly takes pictures and sends them to Lucinda. By observing Camille's stepmother, he concludes that she is having an affair and asks Lucinda to investigate it. He then goes to grab Camille and leaves with her. Mr. Logan notices them leaving earlier and sends his bodyguards after Jake and Camille. But before they can get to them, they are already gone. On their way, Jake asks what she will do if her father disapproves of their relationship. Camille has always said yes to whatever her father ordered her to do, but this time, she isn't going to. Jake matters more to her than anything else right now. Once back at home, Jake receives a call from Lucinda, who tells him that Logan's wife is having an affair, and the guy with her in the pictures is Logan's divorce attorney. Lucinda confirms one more suspicion of Jake. Logan is in fact hiding something from them. Moreover, he is the one who paid for Sebastian's rehab. He has another email that he didn't give Jake any access to, and there, he received an email from someone unknown. The email is deleted now, but the question remains, what is he hiding from them? Jake joins Camille in the shower and they spend the night together. The next day when they wake up, Jake is quickly alerted by the suspicious noise coming from their front door. He goes to check but is surprised to see Lucinda walking in. Lucinda is disappointed to see Jake and Camille together. She shows them the magazine in which Jake can be seen carrying Camille out of the club. Lucinda cannot believe how Jake could risk such a thing when he knows what's at stake. Jake tries to put out the fire by introducing them both, but still, the tension in the air remains the same. He goes inside to comfort Camille by telling her that what he has with her isn't meaningless. Seems like their nightmare has just begun as they walk out and find Mr. Logan sitting on the couch. He sees them both together and is disgusted by Jake. Logan orders Camille to put on some clothes and leave with him, but Camille refuses. When his bodyguard takes a step toward her, Jake menacingly tells them that he would rip off anyone who dares to touch her. Camille informs her father that no matter what he intends to do, she will not leave Jake's side. Jake takes Camille inside the room where he tells her to stay. On his way out, Jake locks the door and confronts Mr. Logan. Jake makes it clear that even if he paid him to leave her, he wouldn't touch his money, but Logan has other plans. The police sirens can be heard in the distance as Logan informs Jake that he intends to send him to jail on charges of assaulting Sebastian. Jake cannot believe that a father can help his daughter's abuser just to get back at him. Logan's guards try to hold Jake down, but he manages to get out of their hold. With one last reminder that he is going to make Logan wish that he had never met him, Jake is gone. Logan gets his daughter out and tries to manipulate her into thinking that Jake ran away, but Camille is smart. She pretends to be happy with Logan's decision, but as soon as she gets the chance, Camille takes off with her father's phone. She manages to outrun her father's guards and gets on a yacht without their notice. There, she calls her actual mother. Jake takes shelter in Lucinda's home, but she is still mad at him for getting emotionally attached to Camille. He reveals he is in love with Camille and would go to any lengths to protect her, even if she needs protection from her own father. Lucinda, upon hearing that his feelings for her are genuine, promises to help them. Camille is taking refuge at her mother's home. Listening to her mother's calming voice, Camille breaks into tears as she explains what's been happening to her. She is worried about what she should do next, but her mother tells her that the first thing she should do is make herself at home. Then they can figure things out together later. Camille goes to the shower where Jake, who has been waiting for her, surprises her. She thought he left her, but Jake tells her that he could never do such a thing. As the two are busy sharing an intimate moment, the door to the bathroom opens and Camille's mom enters, catching them both in the act. She is already distant from Logan, and seeing how much her daughter loves him, she accepts him happily without any conditions. After she leaves, Jake confesses her love for Camille. He came all the way here just to tell her how much she really means to him. Jake, over a cup of tea, tells Camille's mom all about Logan. He shares his concerns with her and reveals that the reason Logan is trying to keep them away from each other is not because of their relationship, but because he questioned Logan about what he is hiding. Camille's mom knew that Logan isn't a great man but still never expected him to be this low. Jake takes Camille with him after he promises to keep her safe from any harm that may come her way. Jake surprises Camille with a simple yet beautiful home. No one knows about this house but Jake, who plans to make it into their dream home. Camille is admiring the house when she notices a piece of paper near the door. The note is written by Jake, and he left some instructions for Camille that she should follow to win the game he has planned especially for her. She gets on the trail and finds more instructions on her way to her destination. With each instruction, he leaves a set of compliments for her, making her shy yet happy. Finally, she comes to the end of her quest and meets Jake there. He is her prize. There, under the clear blue sky, they share an intimate moment. Unfortunately, it only lasts until Camille, yet again, asks Jake who the woman in the picture is. He refuses to tell her and instead changes the topic by bringing up food. Jake spends the rest of his day teaching Camille how to shoot. The next day, as Jake is busy making breakfast, Logan calls him and demands that he leaves her daughter at once. He believes that Camille refuses to obey him because Jake has brainwashed her, but it's not true. Jake lets Logan know that they can only talk further if Sebastian drops charges against him. He ends the call after informing Logan that he knows about the hidden email and is also aware that he only wants him gone because of that. Jake appears to be in a dilemma, and after some deliberation, he calls someone named Abby. Abby has been waiting for his call for years and cannot believe that he finally did it. She desperately calls out his name, but Jake doesn't say much and only tells her that he wants to meet her. Jake ends the call abruptly when Camille enters the kitchen. Every time Jake looks at her, he falls more in love with her. Out of nowhere, Jake sits on one knee and asks Camille to marry him. Camille is more shocked than words can ever describe, yet she doesn't waste a second in saying yes. Jake grabs a pen nearby and draws a ring on her finger. She is ready to be his companion for the rest of her life. Camille is the only one who was able to bring down the walls he built around him to keep everyone away. She is the one who taught him how to love again. Later, he calls Lucinda and tells her about the proposal. Moreover, he also reveals that he is going to meet Abby, and when he does, he needs Lucinda to keep an eye on Camille. She is the only one that he truly trusts. Lucinda doesn't want to, as she knows that this will create more problems, yet agrees nevertheless. They are back at their apartment where Heather has also arrived to meet her best friend. When Jake is gone, Camille reveals that she is now engaged. Heather cannot believe Camille at first, but when the realization dawns on her, they both jump in excitement. Camille promises to make Heather her bride of honor. Though their excitement at the moment is unmatched, it lasts only for a couple of minutes as Camille receives a phone call from Logan, who reveals that Jake has a wife. Camille doesn't believe him, and when she asks him for proof, Logan provides her with the address of the place where he is meeting Abby right now. Camille tries to leave her apartment but stops when she sees Lucinda there. Camille goes back inside and grabs a frying pan, ready to fight Lucinda off if necessary. Though Camille is ready to fight, the matter resolves more peacefully as Heather manages to distract Lucinda by calling her to the window while Camille sneaks out from behind. Jake is in the house with Abby, and she asks him why he returned after all these years. Jake informs her that he met someone he truly loves, and he needs to let go of all his regrets if he wants to take a fresh start in life. Suddenly, a little girl walks out of a room and recognizes Jake as her father. Jake sees Camille standing at the door. She witnessed their interaction and cannot help but feel betrayed by her partner. She takes off without listening to anything that Jake has to say in his defense, while Jake also doesn't give up and follows her. After a few tiring minutes, the chase finally comes to an end because of a car standing in the middle of the street. Camille gets out of hers, and so does Jake. Seeing that he might lose Camille, Jake finally tells her all the truth. This time he doesn't leave anything out, as he reveals that the woman she saw there isn't his wife, but the sister of his late wife. 4 years ago, he came back home and caught his wife in bed with his best friend. She tried to chase after him but unfortunately met with an accident and passed away. They had a daughter, but Jake could never even look at the little girl. Guilt was everywhere, no matter where he went. This incident cost him everything, even his job in the army. Jake promised himself that he would never fall in love again, but Camille came into his life and changed everything. As he is telling her his story, a van appears out of nowhere and forces Camille inside despite her struggling. It's too late to save her. Blinded with anger and desperation to save Camille, Jake attacks Logan. For the fear of his life, Logan finally comes clean. He tells her that the threats he showed him were only cover-ups. The actual threats he got were pictures of him with an underage girl. He did all that just to save his reputation. Lucinda informs Jake that she managed to find out about the guy that took Camille. This guy, named Michael Scott, has to meet his parole officer, and this would be a great time for Jake to get to him before he goes off their radar again. Jake finds the same white van outside the parole office and follows it quietly without being suspicious. The van stops in front of a shabby-looking building and Jake sees two guys getting out of the van. He follows them inside and manages to take out the one guy, but this alerts the other guy, who puts a knife to Camille's throat. Camille looks tired and almost unconscious. Despite that, Jake aims correctly and shoots the guy before he can do anything, ultimately saving Camille's life. The rescue mission is successful. Everyone, including Camille's mom, is there at her apartment. Lucinda has more information on the assailant who kidnapped Camille. Scott used to share the flat with Logan's first wife, who is also TJ's mother. Right on the cue, TJ also arrives there, but before he can get close to Camille, Jake stops him as he suspects that he might also be involved in this web of deception. Logan defends TJ as he is sure that he could never hurt his sister. TJ reveals that his mother actually did try to reconnect with him out of nowhere just a month before threats started coming. With this information, Jake concludes that Logan's first wife is the one who has been threatening him. In the aftermath of all that has happened, the pictures of Logan leak to the public, while his first wife and her brother are arrested on the charges of blackmailing, including all the crimes they have committed. Camille and Heather start a fashion line together, which proves to be successful. Everyone has their happy ending, and the one for Jake is his reconciliation with his daughter. Camille is also with him and encourages him to do it. Jake goes up to her and the child immediately recognizes him as her father. He gets emotional when she tells him that she has been waiting for him. In the end, Jake and Camille move into their dream home along with his daughter, where they spend their life happily ever after.